is my stunning wife, with whom we have been together for 16 years and have 2 children, had an affair. I found out the truth today and want to share what I know, seeking some clarity through the comments. I provide some context. I am a 40-year-old man and my partner is a 38-year-old woman. Our history goes back to our early 20s, where we met, dated on and off, and shared a dynamic as pals, lovers, and boyfriend-girlfriend. Eventually, we took the step to get married. We have been blessed with a 14-year-old daughter and a sweet little boy of 8. The issue lies in the fact that she has always held my heart. From early on, I recognized that I loved her deeply and envisioned spending the rest of my life with her. Our relationship was built on open discussions, laughter that brought us to tears over the silliest things, and a strong emotional connection. A love for music brought us together, and we enjoyed attending numerous performances hand in hand. Our companionship was something special, and I had never experienced such happiness until our children came into our lives. Welcoming our amazing little ones, our hearts overflowed with joy and pride. They turned out to be absolutely gorgeous, with hearts even bigger than I could have imagined. First, we have taken on the responsibility of raising them, and so far we have done an excellent job in nurturing these wonderful souls. One thing I take immense pride in about our marriage is the fact that we have raised 2 selfless children who genuinely care about each other and the world they inhabit. My love for them knows no bounds. They are the light of my life. Undoubtedly, our marriage has experienced its share of ups and downs over the years, as is natural in any long-term commitment. However, I firmly believe that such fluctuations are a part of the journey, and despite the challenges, our love and bond have grown stronger with time. First, we used to cruise through life feeling on top of the world, owning every moment together. As people, even during our worst points before this affair, we managed to find a way to communicate, find common ground, and bounce back to continue cruising as a team. We fought for each other and our relationship, which is why the pain is so profound now. Instead of fighting for us, she chose him. And that decision hurts deeply. Chris is the name of the person she met, and they were once co-workers. As after she left the job for a new one, she continued to keep in touch with him for some unknown reason throughout the past year. Initially, she would casually mention him in passing, sharing bits about her interactions with him, like, "Oh, Chris did this today," and so on. Looking back, I had a lingering feeling that something wasn't quite right, or perhaps it was just my own envy playing tricks on me. I couldn't pinpoint the source, but it felt like a sign of sorts. The past 2 months have been challenging. The period has been challenging due to the impact of COVID-19, but I'm not blaming the situation for what happened. Nevertheless, it certainly didn't make matters any easier, and I found myself facing a massive mountain of despair during that time. Without a doubt, I started withdrawing from some things. My daily routine has been quite consistent for over 2 years now. I wake up at 4 a.m. each morning, head to my gym for a workout, and then take a refreshing shower before starting my work-from-home day, which has been the norm since March. After work, I usually hop on Discord or Teams to catch up with friends and relatives whom I haven't seen in a while due to COVID-19. The evenings are spent conversing and mingling, trying to stay connected despite the physical distance. Being naturally gregarious, I found solace in social interactions on a nightly basis. I invested a great deal of effort into maintaining my social connections, often prioritizing them over my interactions with her. It's true, I focus more on my social life than on nurturing our relationship. Incidentally, around that time, she had leg surgery, which left her unable to walk for an extended period. During that period, we didn't communicate as much as we should have, and I deeply regret that. I took on the role of assisting her with her care, preparing meals, and helping her with all her needs during her recovery from the leg surgery. However, I must admit that there were many days when I left her alone without much social engagement. Meanwhile, they, referring to her and Chris, had extensive conversations during this time. I'm still grappling with understanding why I acted the way I did. It's hard not to wonder if, on a subconscious level, I had already felt rejected by her because she had chosen him over me. Let's look at the timeline. She left her job where he worked in January and found a new one. That throughout February, they continued to maintain contact. During that time, everything in our relationship seemed normal and just as amazing as it had always been, and I genuinely believed our bond was strong. Boxes in March, the pandemic struck, and as I was working from home, we relied on each other more than ever. Together, we prepared ourselves for the challenges the epidemic might bring. April and May rolled on, and everything seemed relatively normal. Just around this time, he began asking personal questions about her relationship with me. Questions like, how does he treat you at cold? What's quitting, or what has he done for you? I suspect their conversations went deeper than just this one question. But she has been vague in her responses, offering little bits of truth here and there. She often replied with, I don't know or I don't remember, making it hard to say for sure what exactly transpired between them during those discussions. In June and July, she began meeting him during her lunch breaks, and it was during this time that they shared their first kiss. According to her, she expressed concern about the impact this could have on our families, to which he replied, I think I am okay with that. These words struck me deeply and weighed heavily on my mind. The situation continued to unfold in July and August. They continued to meet more frequently during her lunch breaks, finding various locations such as parks, parking lots, her workplace, his workplace, and even his house. Their affair escalated to the point where they engaged in intimate activities, including being physically intimate in his wife's bed, undressing each other, and experiencing pleasure together. She mentioned that they once attempted to be intimate in their own bed, but he had difficulty performing. According to her, this was a recurring issue and a significant detail to remember, as they later resorted to intimate encounters in their cars within these parking lots. During this period, I found myself sinking deep into depression, feeling completely disconnected from myself. I would often vent to her about the overwhelming sense of emptiness I was experiencing. I vividly recall sitting in the shower, aimlessly staring at the walls, contemplating whether life might be easier for her and the kids if I simply didn't exist. It was a dark and challenging time for me. In early September, she had her leg surgery, and she spent 2 weeks at home with her leg elevated, unable to go anywhere. During this time, they exchanged a lot of texts, which only added to my emotional turmoil. Depression had escalated, and I felt increasingly lost, as if I were drowning in my own thoughts every day. It was a constant struggle to cope with my overwhelming emotions and mental state during that period. This is in late September, she returned to work, despite being in a cast and relying on a scooter or crutch to get around. Unfortunately, she continued to meet him at his house, even using his wife's bed for their encounters. Meanwhile, my depression persisted, but I channeled my emotions into my workouts. I found solace in pushing myself to achieve personal records, making significant progress in my fitness journey. In addition, I decided to invest in a punching bag, an endurance rope, immersing myself in boxing and spay training as a way to cope with my feelings. As Kiseshal TET, during October, their meetings in parking lots became even more frequent, and they took their affair to another level by booking a hotel room together. They spent an entire day in each other's company, pretending to get ready for work that day as a cover. Exactly wasn't it strout. When she finally left the hotel room to return home, she sent me a few texts mentioning how rough the day had been and how much it hurt. A particular text from her completely gutted me at the time, leaving me feeling shattered and emotionally torn. At the time, I responded to her text in the way a supportive husband would after a tough day at work, offering my understanding and comfort. However, as I look back on that day now, I find myself searching for signs I might have missed. At that time, I was at home with our kids, managing work responsibilities while also helping them with distance learning, which was quite stressful. Juggling their education while trying to stay accountable with work added to the challenges I was facing. It was undoubtedly a difficult and demanding time for both of us. During a couple of conversations in the car, she mentioned that he couldn't get physically intimate, which was a recurring issue between them. Additionally, they had expressed their love for one another. Just around this time, my depression was subsiding, and I was feeling more self-assured than ever before. However, deep down, I sensed that something was amiss, and my suspicion grew stronger as everything felt off so early on. Finally, on day late October, I knew I couldn't ignore these feelings any longer and confronted her to find out what exactly was going on. One morning, before my workout, I gave in to my feelings of suspicion and guilt and decided to snoop. Actually, I felt remorseful for invading her privacy, but my fears were confirmed as I discovered evidence of the affair. The fog of uncertainty lifted, but a new cloud of emotions set in, leaving me overwhelmed. Sometimes I find myself wishing I could go back to the time before that morning, when I was blissfully unaware. Ignorance truly seemed like bliss in retrospect. The text history I found revealed significant gaps in their discussions, adding to my distress and raising more questions about what had been happening behind the scenes. That discovery was a huge red flag for me. I couldn't help but notice that she had a very long snap streak with him on Snapchat, something I had tried so many times to establish with her but never succeeded. It now makes sense why we never had that streak. The realization hit hard, adding more weight to the suspicions I had been harboring. At this point, I stumbled upon saved pictures of him expressing how much he missed her and her responses. Like, "I can't wait to kiss that face, mister," and other nauseating messages. Action Sats. Discovering this kind of intimate exchange was devastating, as it felt like my heart broke 1,000 times in a single moment. That the rush of emotions was overwhelming, and I felt both breathless and consumed by anger. Unable to contain my feelings any longer, I decided to confront her about it, waking her up at 4 a.m. to address the painful truth that had been uncovered. As I switched on the light, I handed her the phone and calmly requested an explanation. Her initial response was expressing her frustration that I had gone through her phone. However, she eventually confessed they had kissed once. Yet deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that it was never just one kiss. It's my experiences and what I've learned from others led me to believe that they often reveal only a fraction of the truth, holding back the whole story. After some persistence, I managed to coax the truth out of her. She reluctantly admitted that they had kissed once inside a car, and their meetings were limited to just a few occasions. It was a bit of a blur, but I believe it was when I presented her Google Map history that she realized I had more information than she had initially disclosed. As she opened up further, she began sharing additional details about the frequency of their encounters. Although I suspected she might still be withholding some information, she mentioned that he had difficulties in certain instances, which left me puzzled about what exactly she meant by difference in this context. Curiosity drove me to explore her phone data, and to my surprise, I discovered a significant increase in her average monthly texts, soaring from 500 to a staggering 4,500 messages. This revelation only added to the complexity of the situation and left me wondering about the true extent of their involvement. The worst day was marked by an astonishing exchange of texts between them, with messages flying back and forth once every 3 minutes over a span of 16 hours. According to her, their conversations were mostly filled with random topics, like "how are you" and "how was your days," alongside sharing songs with each other. However, I find it difficult to fully trust her explanation when confronted about the reasons behind her actions. Uts persist, and it's challenging to accept everything she says at face value. Especially, she attributed her actions to feelings of loneliness and a perception that I didn't appreciate her enough. However, her rationalization seems to have evolved, and she now admits that she is unsure about the exact reasons behind her behavior, putting it down to her own foolishness and becoming addicted, which spiraled out of control. While I acknowledge my shortcomings in being distant, I find it difficult to shoulder the entire blame for what transpired. The situation is complex, and her shifting justifications make it challenging for me to fully comprehend and accept responsibility for her actions. Throughout the course of our relationship, she had numerous opportunities to communicate with me, to raise her concerns, and to let me know that our connection was weakening. Had she done so, I would have fought tirelessly to mend any rift and make things right. Fortunately, she didn't choose that path. Instead, she opted for someone else, falling headlong into a relationship with him. They dated, and their bond deepened as they exchanged declarations of love. But despite having the necessary details, the urge to continue digging and uncovering more lingers. It's as if I'm consumed by a sense of obsession, which is unsettling and not characteristic of who I am. I feel like I'm losing myself, overwhelmed by a desperate need for control, something I've never experienced before and is out of character for me. This internal turmoil is causing me to question my actions and feel like I'm behaving in a way that I don't recognize or condone. Exactly actively, I yearn for her to be completely honest and transparent with me, sharing every essential detail I need to know. It seems like a common theme in stories where individuals, regardless of gender, find themselves wanting to uncover the extent of deceit and the specifics of their partner's infidelity. I take solace in the fact that I am not alone in feeling this way. Is that the attempts to deceive me or provide only partial truths feel even more frustrating and maddening than the actual actions she engaged in. Open communication and complete honesty are what I truly desire in order to heal and move forward. On the day I decided to disclose everything to his wife and confront him, I held nothing back. I shared every piece of evidence I gathered. However, he continued to deny everything he had previously claimed. It turned out that my own wife had fabricated all of it, fueled by her obsession with him and her desire to sabotage their relationship so she could be with him instead. This revelation filled me with intense anger and frustration. I wanted him to take responsibility for his actions, but instead, I found myself torn between wanting to approach him, instill fear, and inflict pain upon him for what he had supposedly done. I located him at his workplace, where he was busy stocking shelves in a retail setting. As I approached, his face was obscured by the shelf he was working on. He appeared to be a small, delicate man with a pale and frail demeanor. I couldn't help but call out to him, saying, "Hey Chris, it's me." I could see people fan brass, and the bridge of his nose were the only visible parts of his face, peering through his mask. The fear that I detected in his expression sent a surge of empowerment through me. Accepted and in hindsight, I realized that my actions may not have been necessary, but I cannot deny the sense of satisfaction I felt in reclaiming what he had contributed to taking away from me. That was me that you didn't accept my Snapchat request, as I thought we were open about sharing everything. Seeing him cower and hastily step back, accompanied by his whimpering exhale, felt like a priceless moment of vindication. It's hard to describe the rush of emotions, but it undeniably brought me a gratifying sense of relief and empowerment. I confronted him head-on and expressed the magnitude of the harm he had contributed to. Howard was present during this confrontation. He continued to deny his involvement in the lies. It's in the lies and cheating my wife had mentioned. Despite the evidence I had to support my claims, I boldly stated to him, "You're a coward," feeling a sense of release in doing so. However, what he replied back to me nearly took me by surprise. "You're right," he admitted. I couldn't believe it. I felt sorry for this miserable, small individual despite my frustration. How could I be so weak? But in that very moment, his unexpected admission of being a coward struck me deeply. It somehow humanized him. And if it weren't for that confession, I might have unleashed more than just verbal confrontations, with frustration still boiling within me. I impulsively grabbed a jar of peanut butter from the shelf he had been stocking and hurled it at his feet in a fit of mixed emotions. After that encounter, I decided to walk away from the situation. As events unfolded, I discovered that just moments before my confrontation, his wife unexpectedly showed up at his workplace. Taking matters into her own hands, she confronted him and compelled him to admit to everything. Their interaction took place outside the store, and it was clear that she had reached the truth without my involvement. She didn't hold back either. She called him a coward and then delivered a swift slap. It was a moment of poetic justice. Just later on, when she recounted the events of the day she confronted him, I learned that she had done so just minutes before I arrived. It was strangely gratifying to hear that she used the same word I did to describe him, and her direct approach prompted him to finally admit to everything. Some of the things my wife had told me were indeed confirmed through his confession. Surprisingly, he even admitted to experiencing difficulty in performing sexually on a couple of occasions. No, it doesn't make any of it better. If anything, it only reveals that there was intent behind some of the actions, which is equally hurtful. Just in that moment, I realized that this man didn't possess anything more substantial than I did. Instead, I need to focus on healing and moving forward from this painful experience. Comparing myself to him won't change the past or bring resolution to the situation. As it gives us, it's crucial to prioritize self-improvement and growth, looking towards a healthier and happier future. And despite all the frustration and anger I have towards him, I can't help but feel sorry for this guy. It's a complex mix of emotions. As for my wife, I'm not quite sure where that leaves us. She has taken some steps towards rebuilding trust and showing remorse. One significant change she made was removing herself from social media entirely. She deactivated and deleted her accounts, severing any connection to him. Moreover, she went above and beyond to demonstrate her commitment to our relationship, leaving no stone unturned in her efforts to regain my trust. Moreover, she went as far as blocking his number to ensure no further communication would occur. She even suggested getting a simple flip phone if it would help in rebuilding trust. These actions indicate her willingness to make amends, but it's still a long road ahead for us to heal and regain the trust that has been broken. But for the time being, she understands my need to check up on her and her phone messages. Given the circumstances, I feel it's justified considering the breach of trust that occurred. However, I can't help but despise the fact that this is what I've become, an adult constantly monitoring a child to ensure they don't break the rules. It's not the person I ever envisioned myself becoming, and it's disheartening to see how this situation has changed me. Aksada Krostavitian's female. As a symbol of her remorse, she took my wedding ring and now wears it on a necklace that she refuses to remove. It's a gesture meant to signify her commitment to rebuilding trust, but it also serves as a constant reminder of the pain and damage that has been done. During the intense confrontation on the day of the discovery, I removed my wedding ring and told her I no longer wanted it. It was a significant moment of distress and disappointment. However, one thing that did bring me some comfort was seeing her take the ring and wear it around her neck. She did it discreetly, keeping it hidden under her shirt for some time before I even noticed. When I finally saw it, I couldn't help but feel a surge of emotion. If there were any tears left in me, I would have cried. A bittersweet reminder of the love we once had and the pain we now must face together. Upon reflection, she has expressed her desire to attend therapy together, and I made it clear that we wouldn't move forward without it. As a step towards reconciliation, we decided to take a weekend trip away, hoping to talk and find a way to reconnect. Because I must confess that during that weekend, there was one day when everything seemed to fade away, and it felt like I had my best friend back. We had moments of genuine closeness, and it gave me a glimmer of hope for our future. However, I am also aware that healing and rebuilding trust will take time and effort from both of us. Therapy will play a crucial role in helping us navigate through this challenging phase and hopefully find a way to mend what has been broken. Upon returning home, a sense of darkness swiftly enveloped me, as if a black cloud had descended upon my emotions. Doubts and thoughts that I attempted to escape during the weekend away resurfaced with undeniable force. Although I perceive signs of remorse from her, the memories of the unsettling truths and manipulative gaslighting linger, making it difficult for me to fully embrace any notion of her remorse. I can't help but question her sincerity in feeling remorse when she continues to conceal even the smallest details, as if underestimating my ability to cope with the truth. The situation is perplexing, and it seems like there's a primal urge driving her to hold on to certain aspects of the past. Holding on to it, she seems to need to reclaim something, although it's hard to explain. This feeling is far from hate. It's a deep sense of puzzlement and emotional complexity. The intensity of our relationship is undeniably passionate, with love and sadness intertwining, creating an amazing emotional connection. Our interactions are frequent and feel like they surpass even the early days when we first met, unburdened by significant responsibilities. However, one aspect has troubled me: our history of mild playfulness. She seems to enjoy it, and although he asked her multiple times for ale, she claims they never went through with it. She never allowed me to penetrate her, believing I'm too big. Yet as more details have emerged, she revealed that he is smaller than me. This revelation leaves me perplexed and questioning her reasons for withholding intimacy. Suddenly, she opened to the idea of anal, after years of engaging only in smaller toys and fingers during intercourse. This change surprises me, and I can't help but wonder if she gave him that intimate experience and is now attempting to make amends by offering the same to me. The situation leaves me feeling conflicted and uncertain about her motives. It's challenging to discern the truth, and I struggle to find clarity. I am uncertain about her sincerity, wondering if it's because she's been caught or if she fears losing our family and the potential embarrassment. The consequences are significant, especially for our oldest child, who might find it difficult to forgive her if the truth comes to light. I am aware that our older child is mature enough to understand the situation, and our youngest may also grasp some aspects. Regardless, neither of them would want to hear about their mother's actions or the near breaking of our family. Its thought haunts me. They had ample opportunities to end things, but they chose not to. If I hadn't caught her, they could still be together. The weight of this reality is heavy, and it's something I can't seem to escape from. I wonder how they would feel about me now. As I prepare to leave the state for a while to work remotely, I'm seeking space and time to process everything, contemplating whether it's worth trying to move forward. Taking time to reflect and heal is essential for making any decisions about the future. Occasion is plans. I long to witness her fighting for our relationship, but at times, my emotions get in the way, and I find myself giving her more than I should. Until now, I can't help but question if I'm being too lenient, allowing her to avoid taking full responsibility for her actions. Regardless of any distance or loneliness she might have felt, it's crucial to acknowledge that she initiated this journey, not I. I need to find the right balance between understanding her perspective and holding her accountable for her choices. She made her choice, and it wasn't me. As far as I'm concerned, she left me in the shower, feeling utterly abandoned, and my mind couldn't help but contemplate dark thoughts. The pain of that moment was overwhelming. Thank you for listening to this story to the end, and if you like it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you think about the story.